Mafia the Old Country is finally here, and as someone who loves the Mafia series, I'm really hoping this one lives up to Mafia 1 and 2. What I've always loved about these games is how cinematic and movie-like they feel. It's like watching an ordinary guy get pulled deeper and deeper into the mob life until inevitably everything crumbles around him. And yeah, the jail shower scene in Mafia 2, that was insane. One thing I really hope they've improved though, the driving. I'd rather have my balls dragged across broken glass than deal with the driving in Mafia 1 again. So, does Mafia the Old Country deliver as a great Mafia game? Does it stay true to the series' incredible storytelling? And most importantly, should you pick it up? Let's find out together. So, I'm about 4.5 hours into Mafia the Old Country, and you know what? I'm having a blast. Graphically, I think this game is pretty good. The attention to detail is really impressive, from the rolling hills of Sicily to the mountains and sprawling grapevines and the beautiful sunsets. It's genuinely very pretty. So beautiful, in fact, that it almost feels wrong to commit mob hits in such a postcard-worthy setting. Almost. What a beautiful afternoon for a murder. Look at this. Look at the view in the back. Look at everything. I'm just turn around, bro. You might want to see something pretty before I take you out. You know what? I'll shoot him in the nuts. Sure, I run into a bit of clipping here and there, but overall it's been a joy to cause digital mayhem against a gorgeous backdrop. But my only real disappointment, the shocking lack of horse balls. An unforgivable oversight in game design. Truly, aside from that glaring crime against realism, the game runs smoothly and looks pretty good in my opinion. I'll avoid diving too deep into the story, so I won't spoil anything for anyone, and just in case you haven't played the game yet. But what I can confidently say, though, is that Mafia the Old Country absolutely nails that classic Mafia feel. You start off as just a regular guy, but before long you're knee-deep into increasingly dangerous and over-the-top situations. It's that slow burn from ordinary citizen to full-blown mobster that always keeps pulling me in, and so far, I'm enjoying it. The combat so far breaks down into what in my opinion is two flavors here. The knife fights and the gun fights. And I've got to say, the knife fighting actually is pretty entertaining. A lot of games give you the generic stab and dodge buttons, but here it seems like you got more than that, a whole toolkit even. We got slash and thrust attacks to mix up your offense. We got a strike button to break your opponent's guard. Plus we got dodge and parry options to make you respond differently to various ways that your enemy will move and attack you. And in my short time with the game, I was actually pretty impressed with how varied the knife fighting felt. It does add a satisfying layer of depth to the game, and it does help break up the pacing a little bit, so it's not just constant shooting the entire time. And speaking of shooting, the shooting did take a little bit of time for me to get used to. Overall, I think it's pretty solid, but I didn't like how the reload times can feel a little bit sluggish. It does take a little bit of time, and aiming has a slight delay before your focus fully locks in. And I'll be honest though, this is probably just a skill issue on my part, and I will say that I definitely improved over my time of playing the game. And one other thing is that enemy AI can be hilariously dumb. Like sometimes they'll just charge at you with absolutely no plan, only to eat a bullet and drop instantly. And that being said, the shootouts are often intense, chaotic, and cinematic all in the right ways. I really appreciate that every weapon is, period authentic, and it adds a ton to the immersion and makes the firefights feel like they belong in a Mafia game. The stealth is surprisingly solid, definitely more fleshed out than I expected, especially since I avoided all promotional material before actually playing the game. It feels like it pulls inspiration from a lot of other series. There's a see enemies through walls ability that works similar to, Assassin's Creed Eagle Vision or Batman's detective mode or something like that. And you can also stash bodies in hiding spots, which seems to come straight out of the Hitman playbook. Overall, it's a competent standard stealth system. It's not bad at all, but I do wish it had more unique touches. Things like environmental takedowns or creative assassination options, I think would have been really cool and given it that, mafia flavor that I've been looking for. You can spend your cash on knives, guns, horses, cars, so on and so forth. And I haven't gotten too crazy with this option yet, but I do know each knife has its own unique bonus. So I actually had to stop and think about which one would benefit me the most. So it actually gave me that depth of which should I buy, this one or that one? And I actually genuinely was torn between two options. And on top of that, you can buy charms that give boosts to certain abilities and stats, which does add a bit more depth to your loadout. And with that being said, this system definitely still has more room to grow. I'd love to see even more variety in future games, maybe even a full skill tree to upgrade your character and playstyle over time. But With what's here, I still find myself looting everyone I possibly could just to scrape together enough money for a better knife or a faster horse, and I think it does a good job of making the currency feel valuable instead of just, another number that's just happening on the screen. Lastly, I gotta talk to you guys about the driving. The traversal seems to be split into two main types. We got horseback riding and we got car driving. Horseback riding actually feels smooth and natural. I honestly don't really have any complaints about how the horses handle. Seems relatively standard to a game with horses. The driving also surprisingly feels decent, which is great. Huge relief considering how much I hated the stiff, clunky driving in Mafia Definitive Edition. The old country's cars handle definitely better, and it's actually enjoyable to kind of cruise around. And that said, I still appreciate that the game sometimes gives you the option to skip the drive altogether. As much as I enjoy the scenery, those long trips, whether on horseback or behind the wheel, can get a little tedious if they do drag on too long. So I'm glad they added that in there. So far, my experience with Mafia the Old Country has been solid. I'm glad I picked this game up, and I've been having a great time with it. Sure, it's not perfect, but it is damn fun. At $49.99, I think that's a very fair price for what's shaping up to be a shorter, more focused game. At least according to Google, it is. But most importantly, it feels like a true Mafia game. The cinematic, the intensity, and it's filled with those wild escalating moments that make the series so memorable. And if you're a fan of the franchise, I think it's worth your time to pick up. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and tell me your thoughts on Mafia the Old Country. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss future streams and videos. We've got plenty more chaos, crime, and cinematic moments coming your way, so stick around. Plot Armor Games, signing out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.